Dragonshire actually will be banned. Dragonshire banned by Raven. I feel like a solid ban given L5's history. And Brax is just the StarCraft ban that we see from most Korean pro teams.
And of course, Brax is a map that can get you caught off guard. So L5 go ahead ban Braxis instead. And this is a map I think Raven actually has a very good chance. They can go for the Immortal Race or the team comp. Macro does not work the most in this battleground, so it can be a little bit towards Raven's favor.
Well, let's see what Raven has planned. We've seen unusual Valera drafts from them with the Tyrande pick on this map, so that's something that we could theoretically see if they want to go down a weird cheesy path. I say it's cheesy because they tried it twice, it didn't work either time, and unfortunately, just playing straight up seems to be a tough. Oh boy, I hope they don't ban a Nubarak, because I mean they could try a lot of things, but I don't think that's the one you want to ban first. Okay, yeah. I think they're just scrolling through.
Yeah, they're just scrolling through, and awfully there will be no hover pick or hover bans this time coming in.
Well, I'm a little bit worried, G-Clef, about the indecisive ban. Okay, they do eventually end up with a Tassadar. I'm like, you guys prepared for this map, right? All right, it's their first ban. They take Tassadar away, and L5 going to respond.
Yep, likely going to see Valla ban coming out from L5, which we have always been seeing in almost all battlegrounds. Not this time, though. They actually want Raven to choose if they want to go Valla, or they also have what they are known for, what H82 is known for. Artanis is available.
Yeah, the Artanis is definitely something I hope to see from Raven on this map because they're just so good at it. When I say they, I really mean H82. The ban of Zarya is not too shocking, considering that you kind of need at least one of the two, Tassadar and Zarya, to make Valla work, usually with an Ariel pick. So even if they pick Valla here right now, L5 isn't that worried, I would say. So I think they're kind of saying, all right, well, we'll just take the neutral bans here. Another team, like, GG or MVP Black might take Zeratul here, but Raven is going to go with the Valla anyways, which shows that they want to force this to work. And when you have strong picks on this map like Li Ming, Sergeant Hammer, Malfurion, I feel like the Valla pick, considering the Tassadar and the Zarya ban, is rather weak as they go into Tyrael Malfurion for their starters here.
I love how L5 is shifting towards Tyrael a lot more, especially on Battlefield of Eternity, and we saw a lot of the games against Tempest where they had some troubles. They also, I believe they won most of the games when they took Tyrael away from Tempest, so which they really didn't pick Tyrael before, and they have never really favored Tyrael against something like Morden before. So that's also something Noblesse has been stepping into the draft.
Yeah, that's a good point, and there's just so much flexibility with Tyrael and protection. And when you go for the range comp, which L5 is absolutely going to go for with the Li Ming and Hammer very likely as their next two damages if they're available, it makes it tough to dive into when there's a Tyrael there with Sanctification at the ready to wait for that dive and to catch it. And even though Raven already has the lead in terms of range damage, the lack of support is an issue. And if they want to get Ariel, they have to take it here, and if they don't want to, it begs the question, why'd they pick Valla in the first place? And we see Nazebo coming out, which is really raising up in the draft. I actually spent the entire day today playing Nazebo, and he is strong. That spider build is crazy, but I didn't lose a single game with him. But he's just one of those heroes that does a lot of burn damage to the Immortals, can help you equalize a race, and he scales well to the late game. But in a series against L5, will we ever see a late game? That's the big question mark for me.
So Raven, I think of course their goal is to delay, really stall time to make this a long game. They have the poking. I wonder if Valla will actually go towards the Q build when they also have Nazebo to poke, possibly because they want to race for Immortal.
This should be a Li Ming ban, I feel like, because if you don't, then L5 can do so much with their composition already and will just outpoke you. They have Malfurion, which means the early game root control is going to be really good for them. I wouldn't necessarily say that with any other matchup between two even teams, for example, but between Raven and L5, I feel like when you have Swoy on the Malfurion, which is his most played hero by a million miles, you have to worry about that. They're looking for the Sergeant Hammer ban instead of the Li Ming. Both bans are good. You have to pick between one of the two.
That's right.
And the hammer ban is not a bad choice, but the problem with the hammer ban to me is that it allows L5 to just go into the gray main, which is so powerful with the Tyrael. I'd rather see the Li Ming ban, because if you have Li Ming, it's tough to hammer and gray main. You're really going kind of all in down that path if you do that. They're going to look to lock in the hammer, though.
You're on top today. I was exactly thinking the same thing. Very nice. And hammer is, of course, banned. Li Ming would be a very big problem, of course, especially not having... This Valla can be gone in a second just with one skill combo from Li Ming. So, and that's another reset. So I would also rather see even gray main ban, because they will be missing the melee coming in for the burst damage, even if they have Li Ming on the back line.
I mean, you could maybe see Nazeebo go into like Superstition, but just so it's just you lose so much in the ice block. I feel like there's just not much of an argument you can make for the hammer ban over the Li Ming. But L5 is actually not locking in very quickly here, so they may have another alternative option in their minds, but it's super obvious to me. Okay, not going to see either the Li Ming nor the gray main. It's going to be Artanis and Tychus. Really surprising. I mean, I suppose Li Ming could still be the last pick, but this is not what I expected to see in terms of the Tychus specifically over the gray main.
Yep, also they have the melee with Artanis, and also Tychus wants to chunk down the Muradin health. So I think that's a very good roundabout for L5, going around the picks and dodging the obvious picks coming in. Of course, Li Ming is still available, so Raven, I think Muradin may not be enough to tank all the damage in the front line. We'll see.
I'm curious what they're going to try to bring out here. They may have wanted to have Artanis as their 5th pick, but it's removed away from them. I'm going to go with the Zeratul, so leaving just Muradin for the tanking. The melee pressure of Zeratul to get into the back lines and pressure Tychus, Malfurion as well. Never want him to be caught up against the Artanis or the Tyrael, but if he's controlling very well, which HA2 is Raven's best player, most would argue, and even when Hamlin's on the Zeratul, he doesn't really make very many mistakes.
I think this Zeratul pick is actually very clutch. And also Void Prison eats on top of the Sanctification on Tyrael. So I think this is a very good last pick coming in. If they can have the teamwork to burst down a few targets, Raven has a very good chance. Just looking at the draft, I really like their draft for now.
Wondering what L5 looks at here with Li Ming still available. They really want to just go down this path and pick up another melee and have the Tyrael support with just the solo range damage for Tychus. It feels like there's not enough poke, and they really have to force the issues too much in the fights, and they will lose the immortal fights if they don't get another ranged here. Gonna go with the Alarak though. The only melee really available here. We've seen this combination work very well. It was a old rich favorite, the MVP Black, Malfurion, Alarak, the telekinesis into the roots. Tychus to do that massive amount of damage. They can also use swap to set up some crazy combos with this. I feel like L5 has definitely gone around what we accept to be the norm for this map, but it's against Raven. They are the big favorites here, and they're going to try this with a little bit different of a composition than you would expect as we go into game number 1. Number 1 versus number 8 here in HGC Korea. Let's go into Battlefield of Eternity. In blue, it is Raven, Joju on Karazim, Hamlin on Valla, NMX on Nazeebo, Diong on Muradin, and H82 will be playing Zeratul.
And in red, L5, SCSC on Artanis, Nachojin on Tychus, Jungha on Alarak, Noblesse on Tyrael, and Swoi on Malfurion.
It is to be noted once more, for those of you tuning in late or just cutting to this part of the VOD, we are playing on the Probius patch. This is not the Cassia patch. I know a lot of people might have expected this week to be played on Cassia, but we're still on Probius. Not live and not 2.0. So no crazy banners and things like that yet either. So anyways, just wanted to get that out of the way as we start things off here in level 1. going to be, you know, fairly even exchange here in the middle. Oh, I say that, and nope, it's not. Valla goes down. I was looking at the top lane on the mini-map right when this occurred. Valla does get picked off. Ton of damage coming down from that extra swipe, and the Olarock telekinesis. As you see, HG2 struggles here in the top lane.
I was also expecting Olarock to be in the solo lane on top instead. And look for that swap. I guess Jungha just have a better sense of grabbing a target while there's a team fight. And it's already a death coming out from Valla.
Well, you know, the strength really of Olarock is multifaceted, but in the early game, he's so powerful with these telekinesis swaps into the roots, as we've seen so many times in the past. As I mentioned before, it's a big MVP Black favorite. It was a combo we saw. It even drew a lot of bans at BlizzCon. And, you know, I feel like there's definitely a high chance of what you're saying will become true the later the game goes on. He may actually end up going up there in the solo lane. We see the Artanis come down. But for the time being, I totally understand why they would run him in here to look for those big stuns. Look at this. Huge silence here. The root actually not as well placed this time. A little bit too high, perhaps expecting Raven to retreat a different path. But look at how much they're able to do in seconds with the burst. This isn't going to be as good in the late game, but for this early game, it's so powerful.
Oh, Jungha grabbing both Nazeebo and Valla together. That was almost a double kill right there if they had a few more skills available. And this Immortal race actually will go towards Raven a little bit faster because they have Nazeebo and Valla and Karazim together. So bursting in on that damage would be better for Raven for now.
Yeah, L5 did start with SC on the Immortal first, and he has amateur opponent, so obviously that's going to make things a lot easier for them. This is why L5 has to dive in, though, what you were saying about the race here in terms of Raven. They have to dive in like this. And Nacho Jenna actually eating a ton of damage, but look at this. Noblesse in the backline is going to pick Hamlin off, and this is already going to be a one-for-one exchange. HG2 still alive, but DeYoung is going to get taken out there. Can't actually proc his trait. Looks like Joju's not getting out either. Noblesse wants one more smite. Can he get it? There it is. Smite for the kill. NMX will get taken out here by Jungha as well, and things got a little bit nasty for just a moment when Tychus was out of the fight, but it turns out if you have enough damage anyways, even without the range, you can still win that team fight, and that's what we saw.
Yeah, that was a 4v5 with the boss. L5 made the right call, and Raven, Valla just getting caught up from the beginning really costed them, and even Artanis was racing for that Immortal, joined the fight later on, and when he joined the fight, L5 was already winning the team fight anyhow. So it looks like trouble for Raven already. Full level down.
It's important that NMX stays alive too, because you really have to get the Widowmaker quest finished as soon as possible. It's a big power spike, and you can get that very early if you're consistently alive in team fights and just flinging out those spiders. But if you die multiple times, all the time you spend in respawn and in the Hall of Storms or on your way home, waste time. You could just be literally building quests, building up that Widowmaker stack up to 100 so that you can get that early. If you finish that early, you get this massive power spike that works so well, even for the Immortal races. We're going to see this turn here by Raven, but immediate silence comes out here for Jungha, and they are going to have to let this one go. SC actually is not willing to let them go, though. We'll grab the swap here onto Joju. That's all they get, but still, L5 now 6 kills to 1, up a talent tier.
Ooh, Raven really has to be careful when they want to poke. They want to poke and build some quests, but that's the time that L5 has to swap. There's also the telekinesis to connect with the CC and the root. And if you try to go for one poke, you may be dead. So, and L5 is looking for that, and Raven knows they are pressured, that they can't even poke, they can't even finish their quest. It's getting worse and worse.
Absolutely. So, they just need to... I like this gank tip, actually. Natsujin's going to try to make it a trade. He will, but that was actually well done by Raven, all things considered. Can Hamlin get out, though? Because if it's a 1-for-2 in L5's favor, that is not worth it, and that's what we're going to see. Can they make anything happen down here? They're actually really putting a number on L5 right now, trying to force the issue. It's not going to happen here, though. The telekinesis will allow Jungha to escape. And they will even up the talent tiers, though, Raven, with this exchange. When you're behind, when you trade even, it's always a good thing. They couldn't quite make it an even trade there as L5 approaches level 10. There's a small window of time where they are going to be even talent tiers for this next Immortal phase. This is a big opportunity for Raven to catch up, even though they're going to have a 2-level scaling problem here very soon. not having heroics for L5 is a big window of time that Raven could try to make something happen.
Yeah, that's right. L5 has a lot of CC available for the team fight, and also more than picking Pierce to have the extra CC potential somewhat, because L5 does have to come in with all the melee. That could stall some time, but Raven really needs more CC. They need to hit level 10, and right now the gap is already becoming way too big.
Yep. They still have that double level scaling advantage right now over Raven, which I feel like a lot of people don't really talk about this, but it is quite significant. Look at the swap coming out here for SC. Does actually get stunned there by that piercing Stormbolt. So we'll back off for now. Noblesse hyper aggressive though in the front lines, and Nitrogen is actually going to come up and rejoin now. Did soak for half of 10 and push that bot lane all the way to the fort. Now he just comes in here. They're just massively ahead. They didn't even need him. And now they're just going to chunk this Immortal down. Not a scratch on the L5 Immortal, currently 20k health as Raven tries to turn this around.
And there comes the Silent. Joju is the first one to go down. Also, the camp is pushing. Nitrogen barely almost survived, but H82 finishes him off at the very end.
Ooh, DeYoung coming in here, trying to get the slows and stuns. SC actually goes in, trying to get the reverse kill there. And this is actually going to be multiple kills for Raven now. Going to be 4, nearly a 5th. H82 commits to kill Junga. They get the wipe. He goes down, but well worth it. And this window of time now, they can catch up in the Immortal health quite significantly. In fact, they may even get ahead from this. Plus, this area, or not this area, but this length of time that L5 would have had with level 10 against them, they spend in the Hall of Storms, they spend in respawn. So Raven using Jojo up here to clear this top wave will actually be level 10 to level 10 to finish out this Immortal phase, which is so critical. So this team fight was so important for them to get back on even footing.
H82 on fire today. I know his Artanis is gone and SCSC is on Artanis instead, but he's showing some fiery plays observed to right now. He took 4 kills up right there. Just stalling some time.
Yeah, they didn't actually win the Immortal phase. They didn't have the coordination to invade there to deny this. They're going to try to fight now. Remember, if they mess this fight up, though, and they lose 2 or 3 members, this Immortal becomes so much more powerful as a result. Sometimes it's better to just cut your losses in a situation like this. DeYoung is silenced. They're trying to burst him before the falls.
Oh, no,
interrupted! Toss. Oh, my God.
And will be burst down with Tychus at the very end. DeYoung is very low. No mana either.
Down he goes. Joju is going to escape. It's only the 1 kill, but it's still very significant in terms of how powerful this Immortal is going to be. It's going to rip through this fort with only its shields depleted. As Noblesse is looking for the kill here onto Hamlin. They actually commit to Purifier Beam here onto Hamlin. He's going to be just fine. Heroic not often seen against compositions like this. The blind usually much more valuable. This is what I was talking about with L5, perhaps we need some unusual heroics in this series. We'll see if MVP Black does the same as we move forward here. The keep should survive, although they have committed all the way to the Odin.
That is true, and Hamlin also went for Strafe instead. We saw some Q-Bala Strafe before in the HGC Korea first few weeks. And 7-sided strike, I wonder if that's for little more offense, of course, but not going to really work with the team as do not have the most CCs available for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, the Pierce is also going to kind of work against that to a certain extent, too. You stun both members and keep them both in there, then half the damage of who you're trying to isolate.
There's a Pierce.
Okay, there's a nice Pierce, actually. We see even... Oh, my God! The turnaround there was massive. Oh, my God, that silence. I need an instant replay. We didn't even commentate that properly, but that was pretty nuts. Well, that's actually going to be a keep here for L5. At this early of a tiny death timer here for Raven, they actually should be able to respond and defend very easily, so it's not game or anything like that, but that was a massive turnaround. John was just like, nah, you guys all bunched up. You are DED dead. Big silence there, and for some reason our sound is no more music. This happens to us occasionally. A world without music is terrible, G-Clef.
That is true.
As you named yourself after a musical note, you're very aware of this.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. And just, oh, there's a void prison. Let me, and then H82 is the one actually that got
caught in there. That's nasty.
Overextension.
Yep.
That's what brings. And Hamlin is the second one. Valla couldn't really even escape. And there's a chase. No way of getting out of here.
This is actually another situation I would love to replay, because when you look at what happened there with H82 as we watch the rest of Raven get totally cleaned up here, And that is probably going to be game this time, as L5 has too many tools to close this out. Now they have Sanctification as well. When you watch that, it's just a forced fight with Void Prison that does need to happen. It's a lack of discipline when you see a moment like this, and the rest of the team just also decides to go in on it. And as a result, they lose several members. Twilight Dream here going to help get the silence, help get kills. This is the last stand right now for Raven. They need to wipe here to defend, but they cannot because Sanctification is pretty good. Everybody stands in it. 5-man Sank. They will knock the core down and take game number 1 here in Battlefield of Eternity. But to go back to my point, you know, when you have a move like this where you actually commit to the Void, you need to have your teammates with you. You need to have the backup. You don't want to Void and then find yourself between a wall and a fort getting slowed and killed. I mean, that was kind of an embarrassing moment for HG2, who played such a good game, actually, up until that moment.